Well, everybody was listening.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Today is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. It's 1 o'clock. Call this meeting to order. Roll call. Let's see. We got Connie Clifford, Jeff Byerly, Becky Carrier, Shelley Johnson, here. Bill Skorick.
I am here.
Chris Bridges, and myself, and we have Richard Wills, our council liaison is here. So perfect. I need somebody to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll do that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. We need approval of the minutes from the Parks Board meeting on August 14th. We need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
And somebody second. Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, awesome. Announcements, I don't have any announcements today, so that leads us to our first public communication. Shelley, you're gonna do the timer for us today? Okay, so we have two on Zoom, and I always start with Zoom, and I start with ladies first. So Jane Shattuck, do you have a public comment? Hello, Jane.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
No comment at this time, just great to see all your faces. Thank you.
Dawn, I see you're on. Do you have a public comment for us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can hear you, yep.
Yeah, I just got back to town and I took a drive over to the dog park and saw my my park bench. It looks really great and I appreciate that. And it's in a great location. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dawn. Jim.
I'd like to just remind everybody that our daytime hours are getting shorter, so it's getting darker sooner. And one of the things that I think we need to think about with all of our parks and stuff is to be seen in dark clothing.
Okay.
Sometimes won't cut it at night, especially when you're driving. And just a reminder, this was under $3. I got it on the internet. This I got locally in town, and it fits on your belt loop, or it can go basically on your bike. So it's got a clip on the back. So let's think safety this winter in particular and see if we can take the load off the fire department a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Good reminder for everybody, including me. Okay. That concludes our public comments. Old business, we still have the ARPA Parks Board request, is the walking path. And it's still out there to complete. We've gotten some bids. Jeff did that for us last month. And so we're about to go to budget and ask city council for the money and see if we can get it completed with the city council funding of it. So as we stand now, it's just kind of in a holding pattern. Jeff, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. All right. So we're just going to move on the basketball courts. You know, I'm just going to remind the administration that the foundation is still willing to pay for the new backboards over at North Bay Park. We already paid for the netting, and the foundation was willing to donate their time to repaint the stripes, but I'm still waiting for the Public Works to get back to us on what backboards that we need to purchase. It's been over a year and we're been talking about this, and it's been since I think March or April that, you know, we were going to do this. So I think it's still the same old basketball backboards that are in disrepair, and we had a summer, it came and went. And so that's too bad, but I'd like to get that done. So I'm just going to leave it on there for now because it's not complete. Anybody have anything to add for the basketball court?
Question, is the one are we keeping the basketball court at Chinook?
I don't know.
Okay. If we are keeping it,
If we
are
keep
we
it,
on the list to get a replacement backboard too?
yeah, absolutely. Use that too. Yep.
So Kristen, who at the Public Works Department's kind of doing this research?
Becky Leach.
Okay, so
Okay, so any other questions about the basketball courts? Nope. Okay, moving on to the Parks Board bylaws. So the bylaws did go to the administration and the administration took a look. I assume gave their input in there. I don't know, and then sent them off to the lawyer and the lawyer gave her input. So I know that we have an ad hoc, we created an ad hoc for the bylaws. My suggestion is because there are quite a few changes that they suggested. I suggest that the ad hoc get back together, look over those changes, and then present our findings on the changes and what we would then recommend changing or keeping and doing and presenting it back to the Parks Board to vote on. That's my suggestion. What do you?
Can I add something on that, Kristen?
Yeah.
We just got the feedback just a few days ago too, so we haven't even really had time to process, and there's a lot of.
I didn't notice they were attached to the end of the
Yeah.
agenda. I was looking for a file. And so Kristen was kind enough this morning to send me
I'm
an
like,
actual. So I-
why is the agenda so large? I watched, saw that. It's like,
Yeah, we definitely need some time to digest.
Yeah, okay, so do you want to, I still think the ad hoc could probably get together and give the feedback back to the Parks Board meeting by next meeting.
most of these changes look just like style changes to me.
Okay,
Doesn't look like there's much, and it's because we don't have a named style in the city, whether it's AP, APA, MLA, or whatever. Like, we have a city style apparently, and it's just not accessible to us. We don't, so it's, most of the stuff I'm seeing is just minor things like capitalization. When do we use the word board? When do we use the word commission?
yeah, they added Parks Board of Commissioners, I,
that's-
That might be new, because I know that they're revising some of the city. code.
okay, okay.
I printed, read and compared. Because I don't know anything about it. And what I saw was there were several words that were added. At least that's how I felt about it as I read it.
Mhm.
And there were changes in description. Is what I kind of noticed. Anyway.
I mean,
Yes, so the ad hoc can meet again and.
yeah, I think that's probably the best plan of action is just to meet, talk these through. Because there's a couple of things I kind of have a question about and that maybe the administration can help answer some questions. So, all right, why don't we, the ad hoc will meet again and hopefully we'll have some answers by the next meeting. Does that work for everybody?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, okay. All of our free time. Okay. Anything else on bylaws? All right, new business, budget proposal. So, we were asked once again to present to council a budget. I'm gonna talk a little bit about this, but I'm gonna hand it over to Jeff because you were able to sit down with the administration recently at a meeting, so to talk about what the administration's focus is. So why don't you take over?
I'm gonna try to go through this pretty quickly. Met with the mayor and Scott Anderson, Becky Leach, the city project manager, on the 29th. Just to get some common ground about what they would like to see happen, because we kicked around a lot of ideas in here, and without support on the other part of the equation, can't go anyplace. We talked about the ADA that was done at Chinook, and some communication issues there, and basically everyone had good intentions and things didn't go exactly perfectly. That was discussed. What the mayor and Scott and Becky are looking for, I think mostly from this group, would be kind of a free flow of ideas of what we would like to see done, brought to them on a monthly basis. So they know what's going on, and for improvements in usage of the park. And then they can give their, input either at that point or later about how that matches up with their vision of what they think should be done. Some of the things we talked about were renovations at Emerson, which were in a previous budget. We talked about adding pickleball there, and they're very in favor of that. They've talked to other people. They've got a lot of input or some input from the community that would be desirable use of that space. They brought up something we haven't discussed in here, which was, years ago, 3-4 years ago, there was the Grand Canal North End Park, which was about a $2.5 million plan by Watershed. And there just wasn't the money to do it. The mayor and his group asked if we could get together with our knowledge and expertise and take a look at that plan and give them some suggestions on maybe doing little parts of it now. Are there things, is there low hanging fruit there, improvements we could make along the waterway? And then get some momentum and maybe see that plan through in a few years as money permits. They're very interested in improving the fresh waterways. Almost all of our parks tie into the fresh waterways, and there's some connection there. And that was something we hadn't talked about. We had heard I had heard a lot of input on some coverage at Chinook Park for, I'm going to call them the dog people, a rain shelter of some sort. The administration is in favor of pursuing that and thinks it can be done in-house by city staff. We talked about the walking trail. Didn't really get a lot of feedback on that, honestly. More stuff about the waterways and the work that was coming up, the possibility of using the parks, which they have done to stage some of the removal. Briefly talked about North Bay Park. It's some years it'll be in the next budget, I think, but it's a big underused, great spot for a lot of different work there. And I think there's some looking at grants in 2025, 2026 to possibly work with the school district. I know Kristen and Shelley have talked to the school district about possible improvements there. Some part of a moving fences, maybe some part of a synthetic turf field that could be used year round by everyone in the community and the schools. Little bit of discussion on cameras at the parks, which I think are going to make it to the budget. That they're generally in favor of just for security and vandalism reasons. I think that's it. The rest was kind of a wide-ranging discussion about very long-term stuff. High Dunes Trail extension and problems they face with the tribe and permitting from the tribe going north and Department of Ecology going south. Different places where sidewalks could possibly tie together, parks and kids could get off the street and their bicycles, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, there's champagne dreams and we'll call it beer budget. And that was it. Big thing, communicate with them, free range of ideas from this group and run it by them on a regular basis and see what they think they can get excited about and support. And last thing I'm going to say about this, because I'm talking too much, is everyone in here we're attached to the parks. So talking to people, thinking about yourself when you walk around the parks, look at, what you would like to see. And I think any ideas are good ideas. And, we're the first filter and they're the last filter. One other thing going through my notes here is they were enthusiastic about the idea of murals at some of these parks. We talked last month about painting some murals on the windscreens, and obviously we have the murals over by at the skate park and the dog.
The animal shelter.
And they thought that was a good idea to tie the community and the parks together. So think that was about it. And I'll try to schedule something again and we'll just try to keep a regular dialogue going.
Yeah, I'll email those so they're part of the minutes that we do from this meeting. So thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate that. And that did kind of segue into Shelley put together a real rough how we're going to do the budget and present to city council. And she's done a great job. And I'm going to let her take over, but it's called Lights, Camera, Action. So do you want to talk a little bit about?
Lights, camera.
That's right. It's really,
The
it's
things that
great.
we talked about as being priorities are vandalism and safety for folks. So lights, we've talked about specifically where we think lights need to go. Jeff and Kristen and I are doing deep dive into cost, you know, picking out exact fixtures so we can make this super easy for the decision makers to sign off on. Same thing with cameras. A little bit later, I'm going to talk about a meeting that we had with Kathleen Maroney at the community club and talked about their camera system and trying to figure out something similar to that that's not a huge cost to go in. So lights, camera. Also in the camera, we talked about the importance of getting some sort of counting, some numbers about people coming in and out of our parks. So the two big parks using commercial car counters and maybe some people counters in some other parts of the park. And then action, we had all kinds of great stuff. You know, starting with the pickleball courts, the nature trail. What else have we bounced around, you guys?
Well, increasing maintenance costs. So we're asking to increase the maintenance, which we did 2 years ago. We asked them to at least bring it up to what the national park recommendation is, because we're far below it, and they didn't. So we're going to ask them to continue because we've added to our parks. So we need to make sure that we're covering that cost. We talked about murals, and then we talked about the park brochures. Even though LTAC gave us the seed money, LTAC does not expect us to go back and ask for those park map flyers. So sorry to but they've been very well received. As a matter of fact, I got an email from one of the hotels asking for more the other day, and so I stopped by the other hotels, and they definitely needed more. So if we can get the city to buy them in the future, then we can distribute them to other places. We can distribute them to the moped, the bike place. They are them. I mean, all the businesses if you want. So we could just do more with the park maps, give them to the real estate agents. I mean, look at all the parks that we have. Come buy a house in Ocean Shores.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We talked about us relaunching a summer recreation program as a partnership with some of the other organizations in Ocean Shores that are interested in doing that.
Yep.
So kind of more like a coalition approach.
Yeah.
So that's kind of on our.
Bill and I will talk about that with the CIC. So we met with them.
And then do you want to mention the grant support?
Yeah, so I think we talked about this in the past. So we missed out on the 2024 youth facilities grant from the RCO, which was a $1.2 million no match grant to redo a youth facility, and North Bay Park would have completely fit that. But I'm hoping they'll offer it again in 26. I'm going to ask city council, I'm going to put it on their radar saying like, we need to go for this, and we need city council support for this. So we don't have a grant writer, but this might be something that we need to pursue, getting a grant writer for, consulting for a grant writer for this project, especially if they offer it again and it is no match. We just took a look today, the 2024 applicants that were awarded, not one was awarded in Grace Harbor County. So that gives us a little bit of leverage with grants if we haven't gotten a grant in a while. So I don't know, let's keep our fingers crossed. So hopefully we can get North Bay Park, because I know the covered picnic area is part of the capital facilities project. And if we can take that and put that under a grant, that's a win-win. So all kinds of things that will be going in
Just
front of.
remember lights, camera.
Yeah. So anybody did we miss anything? board? Did we leave anything off?
I just want to go back to Jeff's presentation. You know, you said that the city council is looking for a lot of ideas, or just a lot of free flowing ideas, I think is kind of what they were
The
thinking. about.
administration.
Or the administration, I'm sorry. So how do we solicit ideas from the public, the general public? I mean, where do we get, is there any input there, a chance to get like, you know,
Well, 3 years, was it 3 years ago, Chris?
I don't think, I
2
think,
years ago.
that one was it pre?
No, it was at the Sand and Sawdust Festival. We had a booth and then
We got a lot of input.
I was gonna say, how did it work?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did a dot matrix. So we had a bunch of questions. We gave them dots and they walked up and put dots on what they.
Oh, okay.
And the other was they wrote in ideas. And then we did a 90-day survey on the city. And I think and that's what catapulted into the comp plan. That's all in the comp plan.
Oh, okay.
So we've already done it. So the city council has approved our priorities. So we need to go off of what we put in the comp plan.
All right.
But I mean, I think what Jeff is talking about, I don't want to talk for Jeff, but I mean, when we're at the parks and we're walking around, we can ask just people in general, like, what do you like about this park? What do you want to see improved in this park? I mean, they're the ones using it. So I think that's more of what you were talking about, just kind of making sure that there's some low hanging fruit that we can get.
Well, can we take our survey info and feed that to the,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, just
100%.
remind them of a certain core of ideas that the public has already approved of. And then just
Yeah.
reiterate that to,
And that can be in our budget.
And say-
You agreed to this comp plan, you agreed to the
Yeah.
priority list, you agreed to the high, low, medium.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
so it's like putting the ball in their court instead of just coming up with new ideas for them to say, oh, that's a good idea.
and that's why you do the comp plan. That's why you do what you do. Yep.
And I think that's part of what's driving the trail at Chinook, for instance, that was high on the list of
Mhm.
priorities. People are Looking
Yeah.
for safe places to walk around in the dark.
Yeah.
You get less likely to run over by a car in Chinook than you do on the road out in front of it.
yeah.
And, you know, someplace that isn't squishy too would. So.
So do you have a date set for your next meeting?
I do not, because I wanted to present this, get some feedback, and then open myself up to their schedule.
So would you think that if you went in with 3 good ideas that have already been proven and asked them to give us one for,
I don't think they're I'm speculating. But I think money is tight. And nobody's quite willing to buy anything at this point in time. And I think they're waiting. There's probably a little bit of, trust issue, but also, and I can try that. I'm there to represent this board.
Mhm.
And that's, I went in with about 4 or 5 ideas that we had talked about in here. And again, the one that they came back with that we hadn't talked about was the North Canal Park, pecking away at that in some way, which I think is a good idea. I will try to, seems like that,
When that got initiated, the park board had nothing to do with that whole project.
It was driven by a councilman. Yeah.
And so I'm surprised they're bringing it back to us because talk about out of budget. I mean, that's really
I think if I heard it right, and actually we talked about this today at the budget meeting, it didn't come from the board and it didn't come from them. They like the idea. And I think they're seeking from us, we're a bunch of people interested in parks, so they're interested in feedback. And yeah, I think we can look at the plan and at least have some ideas of little parts of that maybe can be implemented. And I respect that, but I think we all know there's not 2.5 million of 3-year-old, 4-year-old bid, because now it's probably 4 million.
the main goal of that property was to get a dock in so people could boat their way to town and then tie up and go to the restaurants or the store. And when they brought the plans back to, not the board, but just back, it was almost like it's not gonna happen, people, because there's too many problems, you know, with the vegetation over, you just gotten crazy. And then the Gulf Bridge needs to have the sewer pipe put under instead of, because right now the sewer pipe's under the bridge. And if you have people going, well, it's, hopefully it's still attached.
They're gonna be fixing the sewer
Yes,
soon, and are they gonna just reattach it under the bridge? Rich, or are they going underground?
no, they're going to pull up the boards on the bridge. They're hoping to do that during the rainy season or at night. And then they're going to run a completely new HDPE pipe, plastic pipe, and they're going to abandon the old pipe in place. The old pipe is plenty secure. It's just that it's rusting out.
Okay,
And
so location's not
the
changing.
location's not.
Okay.
It's just be suspended under the bridge,
Okay,
but it will not fall on your head.
but it will be better. Okay, yeah, I know that they're gonna start doing that pretty.
So
Part of the council meeting last week.
what, that sewer pipe, what is on either end? Where is it coming and where's it going?
It's a force main, and so it ties into the gravity fed cisterns that then get pumped into the suction system. So it's all part of, ultimately, there's a big cistern, if my memory serves correctly, there's a big cistern down by the traffic circle on Point Brown. And it collects there and then it gets pushed on down the system. So it's gravity fed from the gate down. Most of that sewer line is actually underneath the Oyhut ditch.
So it services all the businesses along Port
Say
Brown?
all of the business, but it services downtown primarily, yes.
Oh, so it's an important pipe.
It's an important pipe.
Even if it was small, sewer.
What's the dimension of the pipe?
I've been under the bridge and looked, and I want to say it's probably an 8-inch pipe. It's, like this big around.
Yeah.
All right, well, anyway, getting off subject here, but you're right. So I mean, that watershed project that was done, it was a huge $2.5 million wish list. And I think what the admin is asking for is, can we pick apart pieces of it and make some of it come to life? Specifically a kayak launch. And so I think what I think needs to happen is maybe like setting up an ad hoc to look at that. That's probably, maybe we talk about that the next meeting, or we'll figure it. We'll put it on discussion for the next meeting.
You being a golfer, I have a question for you.
Well, I just play the part.
Well,
I just look like a golfer. No.
no, in that park, I mean, the carts go.
The bridge?
No, the actual North.
Oh, uh-huh.
Park.
Mhm.
Is there a possibility of anybody getting bonked with a golf ball while they're in there? Thank you, because I was thinking,
Yeah, you could, sure.
okay,
I mean, I've hit some shots that were questionable. I've never gone that far.
I was thinking if we wanted to
There's a lot of,
develop it more, we might have
a
to.
lot of brush
That.
right there. There's a lot of brush. You would
You don't
have to
want-
really hit it high and over.
Golf ball.
I mean, it's possible. I can't say it's not possible.
Should we post a warning sign there?
I never heard of someone getting hit by a golf ball, and I don't even think I've seen a golf ball over there, but I mean,
I'm just thinking if we try to develop that area a little bit,
I think if we start to develop it, we probably, I don't know.
yeah, that's gonna attract more people,
We've never had a sign there before.
right?
I've not heard of I don't know. I don't.
If a fluke happens and we didn't have a sign, we could
We
be.
yell for. No, I'm not kidding. That's what you do. You yell for and you hope someone ducks. But,
Well, I think it's
true.
it's gonna be something to be considered.
Or-
I got a feeling it's a wage thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Manageable. There's nets around all sorts of walkways on golf courses.
Yeah. I think you really have to work really hard because you're just chipping on to the green. You're not, it's not a drive, it's not on fairway.
Oh,
You're just
okay,
chipping on.
that's fair.
That's
Yeah,
probably why there hasn't been too many problems.
well, there's probably a lot of balls in the marshy areas.
Could be.
Revenue source.
You have a what?
A new person question.
Oh, new.
So I am looking at, the city code for powers and duties for the park board, 2.48.
Wait a second. Are we going back to the bylaws?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, budget.
So subsection B says the board shall submit to the city council each year on or before September 15th, an estimate of the amount of money required by the department to carry on its activities for the ensuing year, together with recommendations for the development of the program and facilities as it may deem advisable. My question is, an estimate has a legal connotation to it. How do we, as an advisory board, manage an estimate?
Well, I can tell you that it was told to us that the administration would not have time to seek the estimates for these, so they left it up to us to do.
But do we, if, I don't see where above in this, when I look at all the terms of being on the board, I'm not sure that we have the power to request an estimate. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm just trying to figure out, how do we get a legitimate number? We're not city employees, so I can't imagine I'm gonna pick up the phone and call Arrow Lumber and say, I need an estimate for building X.
I didn't know that there is gonna be a legal connotation to getting an estimate. Is there a legal
Your
connotation? to an
estimate.
Yeah.
Estimate is a legal term, and there's a difference between an estimate and a bid, and
Okay, so
Your-
are you,
estimate has, I believe, a 4% leeway.
what's the difference between an estimate and a bid?
Well, a bid is an offer to do work at a specific price under specific terms.
Okay, what's an estimate?
Certainly estimates,
Sounds synonymous to me.
in some ways, well, it's not an offer to do the work. It's,
Okay,
and there's all sorts of estimating done along.
so maybe that's where the confusion is, maybe because it's. an
Yeah,
estimate,
I'm just
not a
reading
bid to
the
do
code
the
and
work.
trying to figure out what power do we have and what responsibility do we have?
So. Jonah?
And I don't know if we can answer that in this room, but that's, and like I said.
Well, I
this is
think
a
that-
person question.
Go
I
ahead.
just looked it up. Estimates cannot be used as a legal standpoint for price.
There you go.
Awesome.
Okay,
So we're just taking, so really what they're asking for is a guesstimate on how much something's going to cost.
yes. Yes,
And they're too busy, they don't have time to do it
so
themselves.
they're asking us to do it. If we don't do it, then nothing's gonna get done.
Now I'm gonna ask another new person. That huge piece of work that you did, Kristen, that 100+ thing,
Comp plan?
how does this fit in now?
What do you mean?
That's a huge amount of work.
I did part of it and then a company finished it.
It's just still a huge amount of
Yeah.
work. And I want to make sure that if we're gonna do that huge piece of work, that it fits into an overall plan for our duties here.
Well, that's what she was saying.
Yeah. And
That's what we were talking about. So this,
I see where they want the annual estimates, but
well, the comp plan, there is what it's saying is that city council agrees that these are the priorities and you use them for basically RCO grants, right? That's really what they want to know what your comp plan is. They want to know what the city is doing when they're behind and what they have deemed is a priority. They want to look at what facilities we already have. I mean, you've obviously looked at the comp plan, right? So it's just part of the whole city's comp plan, but it really comes into play when you are going after grants.
I wonder if we need some more city code that more carefully defines what our power and advisory.
Listen at the bylaw.
I think the bylaws were aimed at how we operate internally. What I'm looking at is the superstructure that gives us power. Or,
Can I make a comment as a city liaison person?
I don't know. It's up to you.
That's, I think my job is.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not
okay.
Speaking for the city council, but as a city council member, every ordinance that is proposed that I, as a council member, evaluate, does this fit in with the appropriate existing comp plan? And if it's way off in left field, then I question its need. So for me as a city council member, when I look at the parks proposal, I've read the parks comp plan. I've read the planning commission's comp plan, and I evaluate, does this fit? And I think that that's all, from my perspective, that's the motivation I look for to say, how much attention do I want to focus on this?
Well, council had two chances at readings. We did 2 readings. We had public comment twice. It sat out for 30 days for people to read. I mean, that was the time that they can come in and say, as a city council, I don't vote on, I don't approve of this. I mean, they unanimously, well, no, it was 6-1. They did not, it was 6-1 to approve the comp plan as is, and no changes were made, or a couple changes were made. Actually, that's not true. But the priorities remain the same.
I would almost like to see an addition to city code, and I'm not sure how we would do this, but exactly what you described, Richard, is the role of this really super huge piece of work. I would have had that in before I had the section that says what the annual budget thing is. There should be something in there that says the city council, the board will present a comprehensive plan every X number of years.
Well, it's every 6 years. Is the
And the city council will use this for the framework of determining.
Well, I think as a board, we just say to council, look, this is my thinking. So for example, the North Bay Park, okay, we said that North Bay Park is a high priority. They agreed to that. So when we go to budget, we say, hey, we know this is probably going to come up in 2026 for an ICO grant. We need to make sure the city council supports this. You have said you supported this. I want to make sure that you guys know this, because we need to start thinking about grant writing and going after this in 26. So I think we're saying the same thing.
I think so too. I'm just thinking it needs to be codified so that there's some protection of that super big.
I don't, that sounds like it's over my pay grade. It's like way over my
I
pay
think
grade.
it's important to realize at some level, this is strictly an advisory board.
I know.
We have no,
Exactly.
we have no power to spend a dollar or.
Exactly, and that's what I'm thinking is that if you had a piece of code that said there's going to be a comprehensive plan revised every 6 years that will dictate the priorities, then our advice is better structured. And there's some recourse that we could go back and say, the comprehensive plan that the city council agreed to dictates these priorities.
Right. And they just need to be, I don't expect them to remember what the priorities are. So it's up to us to do.
Is so that when it comes down to a disagreement.
Well, it's in writing. There's no disagreement. It's in the comp plan.
I was just thinking about things like when a chunk of money gets spent that isn't part of either the comprehensive plan or the budget, then there's a place to come back and say, this is my picture. If we are the conduit for the public, right? So we gather public information, we set a set of priorities, and then we go to the city council and say, this is what the public wants. That's essentially the role of an advisory board, correct? is there anything that in city code that says the city council has to adhere to the advice that we gather from the community? And it doesn't appear to me there is. I think there should be, I guess. That's,
That's city council. They can say yes or no to anything. It might have been a high priority and they agree with that, but they can say no to it.
Maybe they don't have money.
Right. There's a lot of reasons.
And the two big projects that we're looking for funding are supported by the comp plan. So we haven't veered off that course at all.
yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
I'm not worried about us veering off. the
And we
course.
just have to hope
But
that.
they can, that's up,
Right.
they can.
they might spend a gazillion
That's just the chance you take.
And I think it's about voting
Yeah,
the next time.
yeah,
If you don't like what the council's doing,
yeah.
you express it at the ballot box.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't do anything here.
Okay. All right, so at the next meeting, we'll discuss, I think, the Northeast Grand Canal a little bit more and probably put together an ad hoc at that time. Anything else on the budget proposal? Well, one actually, yes. We were asked to do it at last night's with about a week and a half notice, and I requested that we get pushed a little bit, and they came back with the end of September, and I'm like, still think that's not enough time, because we had just had the meeting with the administration. We hadn't had a chance to get together to meet and discuss that as an ad hoc. So I'm asking for October, the first meeting in October, and the city clerk said that she would talk to, the city clerk did say that she would talk to the council and see if they would agree with that. So fingers crossed, if we do, it'd be the presentation, October 8th. Jim, someone's getting a hold of you. October 8th is going to, fingers crossed. I think is that the next meeting?
The night.
Oh, well, that was close, right? No, nope, I think October 8th is the next city count. No, October 15th is what I've asked for. So, well, I don't know. It doesn't matter. 8th or 9th, 15th. So that's all I have on the budget. Do you have anything else, Shelley, on the budget? And Jeff? Thank you so much for all the work you guys have done. It's been great. Anybody else have any questions on budget? Any budget? Okay. So we're going to move on to discussion, student liaison. This has been brought up in the past. It's probably been a couple, 3 years. I think we maybe talked about it, Chris, really early on. And we've talked about what can we do more for the youth in our community. And so Shelley and I had a meeting at the community club center, bouncing ideas off Kathleen, the general manager out there, and it was brought up again about youth. And I had said, well, maybe this is time that we really are serious about this. And maybe it's time that we think about having a couple of high school students be liaisons on our board. That way that we have that connection. We used to have a Parks Board member, Sean, who was or is a teacher out there, and it was kind of our connection at that time too. But having a couple of students, high school students, I think would really help open up the avenue between the parks and city and North Beach. We are still waiting. An email did go out from Kathleen Community Club that to the high school as well, because I think she had thought the same thing for the community club. So it sounds like there's some interest. So I don't know. I think it's a good idea. That's just one person.
Gets more involved.
I agree.
I
And I think
I have two thoughts.
okay.
I don't want to disillusion them too fast.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, but they're gonna come in like, okay, let's get this done. And they're gonna realize,
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe some of their energy will just kind of fall over
Maybe.
on us in the city too. Because we're getting a lot more younger people here.
yeah, no, I'm for it. I just don't wanna have it collapse.
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna disillusion them.
I don't know. I just came, I mean, I would like to think otherwise.
You know, we talked about one or two, I thought two, just in case one's absent or, you know, you have both of them in here and they can.
I think three would be
Run,
better. Otherwise they might, you know, if,
Three?
yeah. A tiebreaker sort of person, I'd say.
I think three might be too much. I think
Yeah.
it's 1 o'clock on a Wednesday, so they're still in school, so we have to think about that. They can zoom in, they don't have to be here present, but.
I would love to see a representative from post-secondary and a representative from secondary. And that would give us a little broader age span, but I've seen boards work with a secondary and a post-secondary representative.
The college, you mean?
We have so many, we have some Grace Harbor students, but we also have online university students in town. But I do think, I think it's an awesome idea. Number one, it gives students an opportunity to get involved in civics to begin with. And number two, second only to retired people, they probably have more time than the normal working group. So having a full range of representation, a lot of those high school students use those parks more than any other group of citizens.
Mhm. Yeah,
And the group of post-secondary often come with small children and
mhm. Yeah, and we talked about, you know, if we decide to do some murals, that could be our, you know, we could reach out through them for the arts, maybe do the students at the high school, the art project, art program. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there.
it would be fantastic, you know, and even I bet a student could get internship credit for serving on the board. I bet there's still a requirement for
hours.
American government courses. They could get credit for reports and.
Yeah, I like the
There's
post-secondary.
a lot of unkept energy among very young people that maybe we could send them out and let them do legwork for. You know, how about if you find out how much it costs to get 500 square feet of?
The post-secondary, that would be just the hardest piece, because I don't know who to reach out to at Grace Harbor Community College, but
Should we start?
I think, I like it though. I see where you're going with it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, well, I mean, that's just an email, right? So.
How would we, I mean, I like to implement things quickly. It's just like,
Well, we've already got an email out. There's an email to the high school, so.
our board does, or it.
Kathleen at the community club, but she CC'd Shelley and I
Oh, okay.
to have a meeting with the North Beach School. So.
My son was the president of Grace Harbor Community College for a while, and
Okay.
they actually were busing into Seattle, and the entire student government was doing volunteer work with the homeless populations.
Mhm.
So there is at least a vehicle, and this is a group of people that are already kind of civic. And they would love, if they can get down here, they would love to be able to do something like this.
Okay.
It looks good on their resumes.
Yep. It gets them involved with civics. It gets them involved with.
But there's
Interaction,
there's some sort of stipulation for the student government at Grace Harbor that they also have to fill some sort of a volunteer civic.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can, I guess I can reach out. I'll reach out to the college.
Awesome.
Talk, but yeah, okay. All right, sounds like everybody's behind it too. So keep you posted on the meeting.
I'll gladly make the connection to the college. I actually still have some connections out there.
If you would do that, that would be
Sure.
great.
Thanks, Becky. I'll call the college and see if we can figure out who. Most of the private, the little group that they call those student groups. The associated something or other. There's a whole.
ASB? Oh, so
It's ASB has like probably 24 clubs.
Okay,
And I'll bet there's probably 3 or 4 that would be more relevant to us.
yeah,
So I'll
okay.
look for ASB advisor out there.
Great. All right. And that's all I have on student liaisons. Anything else before we go on to reports? Nope. Richard Wills, you are up first. There was a council meeting yesterday. Anything?
Parks was not discussed at the council meeting.
Okay,
Parks is rarely discussed.
Okay.
At council meetings, so I have nothing to report.
all right, thank you. All right, so I'm up first. So I met, Bill and I met together with Jacob Baker at the Coastal Interpretive Center. Bill will read the notes from that. I met with the ad hoc for budget, and then Shelley and I met with Kathleen at the community club. And then I had a foundation meeting on Monday. So that's what I've been up to. Chris.
I have nothing to report. You've been busy.
It just happened all at once.
I have to read now.
You might.
So as Kristen said, we met with Jacob Baker, Executive Director of the CIC. He'd been here at one of, I think, my first meeting I attended, he was here. He expressed an interest to have a collaboration with the Parks Board. So that actually came with this first meeting. It was kind of an introductory, preliminary kind of meeting. How can we work? What's our common interests? So we kind of shared what they could do, and we shared what we would like to see done. Some of the ideas were the summer camp program that Kristen mentioned, education and opportunities, activities. CIC, they did say they have limited resources, so maybe taking on a big group in the park would be something they couldn't do, but they were willing to look at it. And of course, he'd have to get board and staff approval.
And he was also writing the grant for the No Child Left Inside. He was applying for that grant from RCO.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he'd applied for it already or was applying. Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah. So that so that was a summer camp. I said intern. That was summer camp program. So we're talking about bringing summer camps back into the parks. Back in Othello, they used to have a real active park and rec director, and the parks were a place where people would come all the time for art and crafts and just whatever you could think of. They had a really good program going. So that was part of that thought. The summer interns that we talked about already, I won't beat that one up because we've already discussed it. They said they're pretty good at restoration and identification of habitat in the parks, and he threw that out there, and that's kind of something they could do. And I don't know if we really understand it quite yet, but
I think what he was talking about was like, for example, the High Dunes Trail, they put the information signs, thank you, Richard, the information signs up to tell you like what vegetation it is. He kind of talked about, we can do that in parks. So like if we did the walking trail, we could, put some signs, and I go, well, there's not that much vegetation on that little walking trail at Chinook, but in the future, I mean, if we do some enhancements or, Limpet has been a park that, we've been talking about kayak launch there, or somebody had mentioned Limpet would make a really good memory garden area for dementia, wandering for dementia patients that we could incorporate CIC. So he's just saying, like, I think just if we do something that they're a good source.
Oh, the beach access trails too. So,
That's true.
this is very preliminary, and we're just, like I said, we're trying to find this common ground where we can work together with. And the last thing was the RCO grant that they're applying for. And he mentioned that there's some possibilities of maybe helping us with some of the.
No, he did not say that. He wouldn't help us write grants, but he was doing the No Child Left Inside grant.
I guess maybe not help. What I meant was with it.
Oh,
Kind of tie in with, because he was saying that there are some that we might have qualified with, not help write the.
yeah, I think like, yes, that's true.
Just
There's like, there was a boating one, there was.
Not.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is that the official title? No Child Left Inside?
Yeah, that's the grant.
It sounds like if you leave your kid in a car or something.
They just want to get kids out of the house.
That's what off the screens and into nature.
And out of houses that maybe they shouldn't be in for. too
Oh,
long.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a very early preliminary meeting, but it was a good conversation.
It was, and they seemed like they're more than willing to reach out to different groups. He's working with several that he mentioned, so.
Yeah, and I ran into him this morning ironically, and he said that he's meeting with his board tomorrow and they were going to talk about the liaisons as well, or the high school, so being on part of the CIC. Yeah. Thanks, Bill,
So that was it.
all right. Jeff, you've been busy.
Talking to the mayor and Scott and Becky, and I guess working a little bit on the budget and looking at possible pickleball at Emerson. Not that busy. It's been fine.
Okay, perfect. Becky Carrier.
You skipping
The,
me?
o- the only thing.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry, Shelley. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Becky. I'll go, Shelley. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. Like, I have so much to say. Sorry, Shelley.
So, Kristen and I met with Kathleen on August 27th. And the idea was just they have parks, we have parks, what do we have in common? What makes sense? So I want to give you a little bit of background about their parks, if you're not aware. Their operation includes the clubhouse, 2 outdoor swimming pools, and 4 parks. Bill Ellis, Ken Peterson, Damon Point, and Skumchuk Park. None of their parks are reservable for private events. There is no membership card check to use the parks. There is membership card check to use the clubhouse and outdoor pools. There is also a guest user policy. The Bill Ellis Park features an open cabana, outdoor pool in the summer, changing rooms with showers, dock, playground, restrooms.
That's not Bill Ellis.
Oh, did I mess it up?
Yeah, Bill Ellis is on Olympic and it's just on the lake. It has a picnic shelter, bathrooms and play area.
Okay, I picked it up from their website. I must have done a wrong copy and paste. Thank you for that.
Ken Peterson
Okay.
and the cabana are the pools.
Okay. And then Damon Park has a basketball court, an open cabana, bocce ball courts, and pickleball courts, a playground, and restrooms. Skookumchuck features a kayak launch and canal view. Their budget is $1.5 million annually. So some of the things we talked about were security cameras. They were having a lot of problems with vandalism and installed cameras 2 years ago that record to a hard drive rather than monitoring a live stream. And they were able to use some footage to prosecute a vandal. And they have seen vandalism go down since they've installed.
If any vandalism anymore, yeah.
And they choose to physically lock their restrooms at their parks every night as a security check. And she also noted that the Ocean Shores Police Department has restrictions on how they can respond to calls at their parks because they are considered private property. So that was important to notice.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. The community club invested funds to create the pickleball courts at Damon, and they're very popular. We've been talking to pickleball people as part of getting ready for the budget presentation, and we're hearing as many as 30 people a day, 7 days a week are playing pickleball over there.
I heard they have to wait in line to get.
Right. So even more incentive for us to move forward with Emerson and our pickleball program. Now, they say that the courts are open to everyone. They don't do a membership check at the gate. Generally, their philosophy is they don't police the outside. So people can come and go into their parks at will. Their upcoming plans for the next 2 years include resurfacing their outdoor pools and then the Bayshore Clubhouse pool. We asked them about goat heads, popular topic at parks. And they said that they choose to ignore them rather than to treat them because they feel the growing season for goat heads is fairly short.
And they don't water their parks.
Interesting.
Too much money discourage people with dogs
Um,
going into their parks.
We asked about their membership demographics. They have 8,600 property parcels. 40% are full-time residents. Their board reflects the membership with 4 resident positions and 5 non-resident positions. Their private club license limits membership to renters to only 1% of their membership annually. So that equates to about 86 renters per year who can apply for memberships. And they must have reapply every year. The WorldMark timeshare allows a set number of users per year. So that's who they're using. We asked Kathleen to estimate, because what we wanted to try to figure out is how many residents that live in Ocean Shores are not able to use the community club facilities. And she estimates that 15 to 20% are not eligible for membership in the community club. And I feel this is really important for our city decision makers to understand. When you add that number to our tourist population, that's a substantial amount of folks who are not able to use the community club facilities. So there's a gap to fill. And we can't just think, oh, the community club does that. So, we don't need to do that. We need to make sure that we're providing services that are open to everyone.
And we can't promote the use of the facilities.
Right.
We can't do that as a
We
city.
can't say you can go play pickleball
Cannot do that.
at their park in Ocean Shores.
Correct.
It can't be on our parks map.
So we don't have a pickleball court.
No.
Not yet. Camera.
That's impossible.
So, and then we talked about mentoring kids, the high school kids, and utilizing them as park volunteers and what that might look like. She's an educator, and so she's got a lot of passion about that and offered to set up a meeting for us all to go and talk. So I felt really, really good about that. And then she also mentioned that Stephanie Morton is now employed by the community club to produce their monthly newspaper, and she invited us to submit event information for inclusion in their newspaper. So that was really nice. It was a great meeting. She was very open
Yeah,
and
it was a long meeting. It was great.
yeah,
Their papers turned into the local,
paper.
yeah, because when the pandemic, what was the name of our vignette, or what was it was just a local little paper.
I think the nice takeaway for me was the cameras, because we were trying to figure out how to get Wi-Fi they don't use Wi-Fi. They're just a 3 TD recording that records for a length of time. And then when there's vandalism, they just go back to the recording. So it doesn't require Wi-Fi.
Cool.
So and the cameras that they use, they just bought off Amazon. It's been great. They're outdoor and they're like $600 for four-piece cameras and the recording device.
That's good.
It's very reasonable and cost effective. Save them so much money.
Yeah.
They were having a lot of problem at Bill Ellis Park and it went away.
Yeah.
Once we know that those cameras are there. So-
Would we start with Chinook in case there's a dog issue?
Well, North Bay. And we're gonna try for North Bay.
Where the bathrooms are.
We're gonna try for
3. So anyway, I thought that was really encouraging.
the budget request.
Oh,
I thought that was super.
talk to them about that at your next meeting too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
will and I have.
Thank you. That's high priority, yes.
well, it still has to come from council. The administration, it's still gonna be part of our council budget presentation, so council has to approve it. So
I know,
it's not about the mayor at that point. It's like, it's your council people. Even though the mayor's behind it, he doesn't have a voting.
Okay, well, let's get it in
That
there.
makes sense to everybody, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I just was
No,
so
I thought it was a great
encouraged.
meeting and she
Yeah.
wanted- If
Yeah.
there are things that make sense for us to collaborate on, she sent us the model information on their camera system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Within 24 hours.
Yeah, she was,
Do the cameras record in the dark?
yes, they have night vision.
Oh, cool. Yeah, especially with winter coming.
Oh, and they're out there. So, yeah, Shelley, thanks for that summary. It was a really good meeting. Does anybody have any other questions about that? Nope. Okay. Now, Becky.
I was asked to look at possible grants, and the one grant that we haven't talked about yet is the local parks maintenance program. And again, they're not offering that grant this year, but you should be aware that the window to apply for this particular grant is only about 40 total days. And it comes up traditionally in the month of September. They announce it in August, but then you have to have the application in by mid-September.
I think that's about right. So that's year when we did it was very fast. Yeah.
And we're not doing it this year, but the list of things that are excluded is extensive. But what would count is easily anything that is less than 50 years old, any structure less than 50 years old. That doesn't cause ground disturbance. So I was thinking maybe like Shelley was talking about, a painting project, murals.
But it's deferred maintenance, so it would not cover painting, new, like,
They'll cover some kinds of painting,
okay.
right?
It would cut, yeah, so I mean, if you had to paint a windscreen, like, it doesn't matter what, if you use red, white, and blue, and.
Or if we need,
That's true, that's true, no, you're right, that's true.
if we need some sort of a windbreak or something like that. That looked to me like it might possibly fit. But what I was thinking is maybe we ought to think, we've got a year. And I called, nobody has any, are offering these grants again.
Okay,
So
they were supposed to offer it this year and they took it away.
Yeah, half the stuff I was reading, and then I get into the details of how to fill out the application. It goes, oh, by the way, we're not doing that in 2024. Like, but you set it up and there's a call for it.
That,
You have to get down into the details of the grant to find out they're not gonna do this year. But it looks to me like they will be doing it someday.
okay,
And we should probably mark that on a calendar that starting probably in July, we want to, as a board, decide which of these projects we want to target. And then I'm guessing the procedure would be for somebody like me to go to Scott or whoever's going to be writing grants for the city at the moment. And
it's
say-
Scott right now.
Right, but I was thinking maybe they would have another grant writer or something, but some grant orifice at the city, and we could go and say, this is what the board thinks.
Okay.
We would like to propose for this particular grant.
Yeah, perfect, thank you for doing that.
That's the only thing I can see right now.
Yeah, I kind of take a look now and again too, so. Okay, thank you, Connie. Okay. Public Works, oh, they're not here. Park inspection report, Spinnaker, well, that part never changes, is exactly the same.
It needs some love.
Actually, I don't mind it the way it is.
Yeah, I'm sure the neighbors like it.
I actually don't mind it. I go around it a lot. Chris, you have Emerson.
Emerson looks good. It just got mowed. There's a gal walking her dog.
We were out there today. It does look pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Bill, you have Lions Club and the skate park.
Yeah, Lions Club, all the equipment is up.
Yeah, it looks good.
They
It
actually
looks really good.
bench in there too, which I didn't know they were gonna add, and
Oh,
a
nice.
little bit of brushwork, so looks good.
Oh, finally.
And the skate park, another tagging on the south half pipe.
All right.
And there's a pallet board, which is about 8 feet long. And a piece of that,
The skate light, it's still there.
the what?
The skate light.
No, the pallet board. I think that's where the materials came on to repair the half pipe. Yeah, well, the one pallet was left there and somebody had taken that pallet and put some of that material up and made their own little ramp. So I took it down, but I can see it happening again and, it's like pretty janky, so.
Looks like.
So I'm just concerned someone's gonna get hurt.
Okay,
So I pulled it to the back, so it's sitting there. I think we need to get the city just to pick that stuff up. Get it
Okay.
out on the park.
On the Lions Club playground, I just wanted to comment that it was really great that they chose a piece of equipment that was aimed at younger children. It looks like it's more suited for children, I'm gonna say 2 to 5. And so that fills in a nice gap compared to some of the other play equipment we have at the parks. And it might be nice moving forward, I don't know, our flyer map might be the right place, but maybe we can kind of find a way to note the ages of, the appropriate age of the playgrounds, so that parents with young children would be drawn over to that park, because that's a nice safe place for their kids. And older kids, this
yeah, we can add that. That's a good idea.
kind of moving forward.
Yeah, that's a good idea. when we redo them, remind me. Yeah. Okay, Becky, you have Chinook and Gunderson.
Henderson looked really good, recently mowed, watered, green, everything's working. Chinook is much greener, they've been watering, but we still got an awful goat head problem. I did also notice that on the billboard, there's still the placard about the toxic algae bloom. And I believe that that's no longer the case. I worry about leaving those signs up year round that, you know, people will ignore them if they're just always there.
Okay, I'll let them know. Thank you.
Everything else looked really good.
They
That
use-
sprinkler has been fixed.
Oh, okay, good, good. They use the roller. So they had that big roller. It's almost like a lint roller out there. Somebody said, reported that they were using it for the
Oh.
goat heads. It catches the goat heads and so.
What does it do to for the plants? That does it do anything to it just, or does it just pick up the dry?
It just picks up the dry goat head. Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe we leave it out there and, well, I'm afraid someone would take it. and leave it on their lawn. Never mind.
I go to the dog park and I'm always in the large part of it. I've never had a goat head in the large.
Small is
area.
really bad.
The small one.
But what about the area that you have to use to get to
My dogs,
where you park? No
they
problem?
rove a little bit, but they have never, ever stepped on a goat.
That's been
There.
a bigger problem too.
My dog's long hair and we were out there last month and we had to pick her up. She was just, she had them in her little paws.
Yeah.
And everything. I stopped taking her because she's little dachshund with long hair. And she picks those things up and then it's forever to get them out of her toes and.
Oh,
Pitches
it
again.
hurt just
The
thinking
field
about it.
outside of the dog park too, where
That's-
humans.
That's
go.
where, yeah, that's
There's a
where,
lot of goat heads.
Yeah.
that's where we were having the problem, not inside the specific dog park though.
Just getting to the dog park.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
Or if you're a kid and you take off and go running, playing.
Yeah. Do it. Gosh darn it. Okay, Jeff, you have North Bay and Limpet.
Limpet, nothing. It was maintained. It was clean of litter and unused as usual. North Bay, same as last month. The infield is overgrown. It has been mowed. Restrooms are in better condition than I've ever seen them in terms of, picked up and not being abused. And there's a broken handle on the sandy can that makes it hard to get into. Maybe somebody should let them know.
Oh, the-
something's fixed.
Okay, the
There's
porta potty out
There's a
there.
porta potty out at the parking lot. And yeah, it looks good.
Okay. Great. Shelley, you have Marine View and Texmar.
Next Mars looking fine. Marine View, I stopped by today and for the first time I found 4 folks fishing on the dock. And so I went down and chatted with them for a little bit and asked for feedback. And they said they love the dock and they love the benches and then they love having a sandy can there. So thank you very much. And they were catching fish left and right.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
very happy.
And Connie, Northeast Grand and Southeast Grand.
The North Grand was fine. They had just mowed. The only thing I find is that the area, and I'm sure it's probably the city property. I'm guessing on that one. It's where the path is for the golf carts.
Yep.
Just south of that, there's lots of goat heads.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful. And I know a lot of people, Jane, walk their dogs over there a lot. But other than that, it was fine. No trash, nothing.
Okay.
The south is a little different. I really spent a lot of time there the other day, and there was a tourist that was there.
Okay.
And so we actually stopped and we talked a little bit. And she had some ideas and some suggestions. I'll get to that in a second. The blackberry bush needs to be removed. They went over there, they cut it on the walkway, they cut it, but it's huge and it's going underneath and it just keeps coming up. And that does get used, that walkway.
Yeah, I
It
just
needs-
that email, so.
Just needs to be cut down completely. people walk their dogs over there a lot, and there is no dog waste disposal over there, and so they lay it on the ground. They put it in a bag, and this is the second time I've seen it now, and then they just lay it on the ground. Now, maybe they just forget it, I don't know, but is there a possibility we could even do a dog waste thing right there like we have up at the dog park?
I thought we were gonna put those in at all our parks. Was it last month we were talking about that?
I don't remember hearing it last month, but
Or it might have been a couple months ago.
when I spoke to the tourist, the first thing she said was, "What is that fence?" So I had to explain to her, the one that is surrounding the weir,
Yeah.
you know, and it looks like it belongs in a concentration camp because it's got everything on top of
Oh,
it.
the
And so
razor
I
wire.
explained to her, I said that's more than likely, and I'm only guessing, to keep people and animals from going over into the weir.
Mhm.
So I did explain it to her on that one. But she says there's so much possibility for this. And I really took what she said seriously, because I kind of looked around at it. And you know, it's got the old walkway that's still there, partially still there. I don't know if it could be improved, if it could be taken out, you know, what could happen. Lots of growth there. There's really, if people just want to go on to that top walkway and just look out, there's no place to sit if they want to do that. And it's not the first time I've seen people there, because in the boat, when we go down that way, we see people there a lot. So I didn't know if there was something that we could do to improve the appeal of the South End Park.
Probably thoughts, I'm sure. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're back to public comment. Shelley, you got your time. So I'm gonna start with Zoom. So Jane Shattuck, you are up if you would like to do a public.
Yes, actually, I would. First off, yes, you do have the potential of getting hit by golf balls on the north end, as I'm there every day.
Sorry.
But with that, oh, they have come through the trees and everything and landed on that walkway. But with that said, my house is 2 blocks away from the fairway, and I have them in my yard also. So it's kind of doesn't matter where you're at, there is the potential for that to happen. But I did it on the subject of the North End Grand Canal Park, and with the discussion of budget and the discussion of all the parks we have, I just would like you to keep in mind a few things before you create an ad hoc committee for this. That is a very large chunk of money, and you still have the issue of vegetation going all the way almost to the golf course bridge there. So as far as putting a kayak dock or anything, none of that is going to be even possible until that vegetation is taken care of. And so just a suggestion, with the budget, we know that council is looking at the capital facilities plans and all of that. Sticking towards maintenance, like you said, and we have so many parks, and each and every one of you have come up with great ideas for all the parks. And instead of maybe trying to do the one chunk thing, doing all these little projects, the pickleball court, the other things with all the little parks. My other concern is that with most of our other parks, there is a great base of residents around there, where North End Grand Canal is basically sandwiched between the golf course, and there are hardly any residents in that area anyways. So maybe utilization of parks that have a larger base of walk or make it to those parks. So it's just something that I want to keep in mind. Yes, it's a great idea, but it's a very large chunk of the budget, and with you knowing the maintenance that needs to be done in the other parks and all the other great ideas citizens and the board members have had for the other parks, I would, and budget constraints that may be coming because of what the city needs as far as, like I said, the capital facility plan and all of that. It's just something to keep in mind before you put an ad hoc committee toward such a big venture, when the funds may not be there for quite a long time, and the maintenance that needs to be done before you could even get to that point, which would be on the city again for getting that waterway into shape. So thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Dawn, 3 minutes. Would you like to make a public comment?
Yeah,
Don?
can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any public comments except to say that I'm really glad that the city is putting some emphasis on the park system. I've been around long enough to see the years when the parks were essentially totally neglected. And a lot of it was lack of money, and the ARPA money has been very helpful, but I think you have to keep your projects in front of the council all the time, and come and make reports the way other city groups do, and make sure that the public is aware of what you're looking for, and so is a council member with steady bombardment of comments to the council meeting. Those are my only thoughts. Those really work, by the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Okay, so Andy, do you have a public comment? Jeff, I know you
Yeah.
wanted to say something.
I'm one of the pickleballers.
Okay.
And we would love to have more courts because people will show up. And if we could get pickleball courts, they're still outdoors, but they're covered. It would extend the season 4 to 5 more months. Cause you know how much rain we get here, December through March. You know, I know it's expensive. What I saw was in Opelika, Alabama, they built 2 sets of 12 courts that are covered. They're open to the public for free and they're lighted until 10 p.m. So now I know those are expensive and they're not way out of in our budget here, but consider it. Secondly, one of my jobs with Home Depot was putting in or placing security cameras
No.
in the design. So the cheapest thing is simply a sign that says cameras in use or security cameras in use. Those cost $2 to $5 and it tamps down. Then what you don't know is that every Home Depot, there are probably 130 cameras. 20% of them are not real cameras. They're fake, but they're domed and the people can't tell they're there. So fake cameras do work, you know, except for the professionals, but I don't think we have professional. So consider that adding in maybe 10% fake cameras when you go placing them. And it does cut down on the other crime, as you found out with what was it that said?
Community club.
Right, community club, and that did cut down, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jim.
I stopped by the skate park before I came to the meeting,
Okay.
and the pallet that's there, there's a piece of skate light underneath it. And they slid it out from underneath the deck on the half pipe. And it was kind of tucked underneath it.
Yeah, that was our safety one, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, so that needs to be resecured, I guess, so.
Maybe we need to store it somewhere that's not underneath. So what he's talking about was we had one extra piece of the skate light that we didn't use, so we put it underneath the half pipe for storage. And obviously they found it. So our plan didn't work as well as I thought it would work. Or it did work and they're just using it now, so.
Yeah, they built their own.
They built their own. You know, you're very creative. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. All right,
I'm on the board.
our next meeting is October 9th, 2024 at 1 o'clock right here at the Editors Library. I need a motion to adjourn at 2:23.
I'll make that.
I need a second.
A second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Okay.